Are you bombarded by all these training tips that you're getting from friends or on the computer, by YouTube or Googling? Well, I'm here to share with you three simple concepts to make training more simple. So I'm Linda Kwan, and I am the owner and trainer at Wow Bow Wow. I specialize in working with pup parents that may have brought home a young puppy, those little baby puppies about 2 to 4 months old. And I also work with the pup parents who have raised those 4 month old babies, and now they want some help as their dog is, moving into their adolescent period. Still puppies, but they are changing. So adolescent period, that can run from 4, 5, 6 month old till about 2 years old. And then lastly, I also work with those pup parents who, had a dog, have a dog that now starting to run into some issues or brought home a mature dog, whether they adopted the dog, rescued the dog, or maybe someone, a family friend or someone that's in the family may have had to rehome their dog. So I help all those different kinds of pup parents. So those family dogs is what I help with. All right, so back to my tips. So the three concepts that I wanted to share with you to make training simple. All right. So simple, I'm going to say this now, simple doesn't necessarily mean easy, but when you're training your dog, some things are simple and easy. So the first thing I wanted to share with you is you have to build communication skills with your dog. If your dog doesn't understand what you're asking them to do, they're not going to learn it, right? And so I get pet parents who say, oh, my dog is stubborn or they're not listening to me. But in many cases, they've had success training their dog maybe to sit in the house, but maybe not do so when something is outside distracting them. So communication, you have to be able to work with your dog and have them understand what you are saying. And that you have to understand that they may have learned certain skill sets, right, to sit in a quiet room, but they may not be able to sit when they hear someone walking past the house. So that's why you have to learn to be able to communicate with your dog better, because you have to understand where they are in their learning process. So it's a lot of feedback you have to be aware of when you train your dog. Does that make sense? So that's concept number one. I want to make sure you understand. So it's learning about dog and learning concepts. And so that's what, if you join me as a private trainer or in my classes, I go over this in more detail. So the second concept I want to share with you, and this is hard for a lot of people, is that, you have to be consistent in your training. So consistency, what I'm talking about is building expectations, right? So consistency is making sure you have the same reward, not aggressive reward, sorry, the same type of response in regards to their behaviors. So for example, when you come home and your dog jumps on you, you say, hey, what a good boy, what a good girl. But, if someone else comes to the house and they jump on them, you said, hey, get down from there. Go sit down, right? So that's not consistent. If you're trying to train your dog to not jump on people, you have to start with yourself. Does that make sense? So consistency. Now, with that, in order to train them to do certain behaviors, to build a new habit, It's best to prevent them from practicing the undesired behavior. So the other side of the coin of consistency is basically prevention, preventing them from practicing certain behaviors. Like, for example, of that person coming over and your dog jumps on them. So you know your dog is doing this and you're trying to teach them another behavior, like, for example, sitting when they meet a person. But in the beginning, they are not going to be consistent with this. And back to the communication, you know what? You are now noticing that if a lot of like exciting things are going on, they can't think and they can't do what you're asking them to do. So what do? You set up the scenario where your dog is prevented from jumping on that guest that comes in. That may be you putting them behind a gate or closed door and then bringing them out only on a leash, right? Or leaving them in a crate or pen in the room with the people and waiting for them to calm down, and then bringing them out to greet the people, and then practicing the sits or going to settle or whatever other cue you want them to do besides jumping on your guests, right? So that's concept number 2. Concept number 3 is, you know what, just showing it to them a couple of times, most likely they're not going to learn it. So it's repetition. And you know, right now I'm working with my dogs and I work on like new tricks, kind of fun things to do with them. And the latest one is having them place their chin on my hand when I put my hand out like this. And so they come in and they put, their nose right here. So we do this, we practice this maybe like about like 5 to 10 minutes every day. And when I bring out the rewards and they know we're setting up for a little training, they get all excited. They get all excited about, oh, what are we going to do today? What are we going to do today? Because I do kind of, put in there other things they know. If we're not getting the repetition on that particular new thing I'm trying to teach them. So I take a break and do some other things they may know. So I take about 5 to 10 minutes to play with them with this, teaching them something new. So in training them, repetition is important, but I want to make sure you understand you don't want to be training them, like an hour or so at a time. Basically, you want these short spurts of like, 5 to 15 minutes. And once a day is great. A couple of times a day is better. You'll get faster results, but keep them short and keep them fun, because who wants to work with someone screaming at them? I don't. My dogs don't. And you know what? I can tell, because whenever I set up for training, they all come running over because they're excited about interacting, playing while they're training. So these are my concepts, the 3 tips that I wanted to share with you. What helps you make training simple? Okay. So again, it's about building that communication with them. So you know what is working and they give you feedback. If it's not working, then you have to assess, why is that not working? Is something going on in the environment? Maybe, I am showing them something that you need to break down. So it's all feedback. So you learning how to communicate with them so they understand you. The second concept was consistency, right? Expectation. So they know what is acceptable and what is not. Don't confuse them. Don't let them do it for some people and not for others, certain behaviors. Be consistent. And on the other side of that is, in order to build that consistency, you have to set up maybe management to prevent the undesired behavior being repeated. And the third concept is repetition. But, having fun training, short periods, 5 to 15 minutes at a time. And you know what? Like I said, fun. Have time to interact with them, enjoy them. I mean, why did you get a dog, right? To have the best companion, one of the best companions you ever will. All right. Thank you for joining me for my Training Tip Tuesday, and I will see you next Tuesday.